Alright, so video on the run-up to the COVID release. Obviously, I'm saying some things you can't see on YouTube. Maybe you can, but I'm not going to risk it. Basically, a bunch of things that evidence that the COVID program was pre-planned and that this is the simplest explanation for the things we see in the run-up to COVID, such as the spike in the use of anti-vax and anti-vaxxer in books, the spike in Google searches just before the release of COVID, which is evidence of something that you may have subjectively noticed, which was the news and entertainment media like hobby horse to elevate and pathologize anti-vaxxers just before the release of COVID. The establishment of the vaccine task force to make mRNA vaxes just 3 months before the COVID-19 release. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. And I just point out that the least contrived explanation for all these things is that it was planned from the start. I'm not able to say who. You know, it's easier to observe sort of the end phenomena because we can look at things like executive orders, like Google searches in the run-up, like, you know, the use of the terms in books, okay, like statements by people such as Gates and Fauci, like funding movements within the WHO towards basically emergency response. So, you know, these are sort of external phenomena, right? But they don't necessarily get to the thing in itself. Who's necessarily, you know, the men behind the curtain, right? I mean, obviously, there's always the usual suspects, right? Such as any blog or periodical with like Post or Times in the name. That's always going to be at the forefront of whatever the latest and greatest scam is. And of course, there's Fauci and Gates and the WHO, right? All the usual suspects or whatever. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot to be said about them, but it's kind of sucks that, you know, you can't really get at, you know, the true core, whatever that is. So it's an hour long, you know, videos just about the run up to the release of COVID and how a pre-planned operation is the most reasonable and least complicated explanation for the facts that I present, which of course I believe are the most relevant facts. One can disagree, always, but that's just what the video is, and it's linked in the description, available on BitChute, Gab, and Odyssey.